SageHeartSoul.com and just going live today. I am going to get this figured out one way or the other. So hold on just a second. We got the chats turned on. And it said chat overlay, new comments will display here. Hey, so maybe I'm onto something. Maybe I figured out how to finally get a comment to display. If you're tuning in for me today, would you just write to me a little bit? Let me know you see me or something, and that would be just awesome. I am still trying to get things figured out, as you know. I really have been evolving over the last several years. Just to give you a little background, I was a police officer for a long time, but I've done a lot of other jobs because life is like that. And, I've been a server and I've delivered food and I have worked in executive offices and I've worked in cities and I've been all over the place. And I didn't start doing school till, I did a little bit of school off and on from high school. I love my mom. She always told me that, she'd go out as soon as I graduated from high school. She was going to go out and bust out a loan and get me going into college. And I was going to do this. And I said, Mom, you're not. And she said, why not? You need to go to school. And I said, well, I do. But what I didn't want her to do was to put herself out there and overextend for a person who did not know yet what they wanted to do with their life when they grew up. So that said, in about 2000 and I think it was 2005, I ended up back in school and I finished a Bachelor of Science degree with the University of Phoenix. And then I went on. I did not get that done though until 2009 because again, life happens and a lot was going on right then. In 2009, I finished and graduated, thought I'm not going back to school now. And I think it must have been 2016. I ended up in the University of Arizona, or excuse me, the University of Oklahoma master's program for Indigenous People Studies. So it's a law degree. And not that I'm an attorney, I just have some learning in legal services for Indigenous people. And that was just so eye-opening and such a wonderful experience. And I went to the University of Arizona because I wanted to kind of honor my family. My family's hails a lot out of Oklahoma, and my native side's out of Oklahoma, and a lot of other sides are out of Oklahoma. And so I wanted to be able to do that as a respectful thing for my family. So that's where I went. And because of what I was studying, I probably couldn't have picked a better location to go. It's a great program. And it's such an eye-opener when you really learn more about what you have been told and how kind of incorrect a lot of it is. So it just allows us to continue opening our minds and studying and going on and doing better. And so I was really glad with that. And I think it was the end of April 2019, I think it was. I graduated from that program and wasn't going back. And 2 weeks later, I had this just such a nudge in my brain going, you're not done. And I'm going, oh no, I'm done. I'm done. I'm old. I mean, and I know it's just a number, you guys. You're only as old as you feel, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not 21 years old. And so I thought, okay, what am I supposed to do? Well, I had this nagging, I think because of my gifts making themselves so known I always knew I had some gifts, but I didn't pay as much attention until about 2015 when a few events really started hitting me hard. And it was interesting because I turned around and I got a hold of my sweet brother-in-law on the phone and talked to him and said, hey, you know what? I just have this nudging, won't let me go, won't leave me alone thing going on that I need to continue school. So lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, I was registered with the University of Arizona in my doctorate program in psychology with an emphasis on criminology. And I did so because I do love the world of law enforcement in respect to investigation. I love the investigation side, and I love whodunits and what happened and figuring things out and being able to look at things. But with my gifts, I'm finding that I think there's a firm combination there, a connection for all of that, and that it it seems to be evolving even as we speak today. So, and I continue to learn about it. I continue to learn about myself and to work on those gifts as far as what I can do. And I know there are other people. This is not just because, ooh, I'm so special. We're all special in our own ways, and we all have these potential gifts. So, this was just the avenue that I chose to work on mine. And of course, my allergies are here this morning. Sorry, or today. It's Arizona time, so it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Anyways, hey, I'm just going to shout out again. If you're out there, give me a wave or something. I think I can see my comments now, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I thought today, I woke up. Well, it was funny because I woke up and I don't know what it is about our phone situations, you guys, but I don't know if anybody else is like me, but I seem to occasionally have um, messages that somebody will send me and I won't see them for 2 or 3 days. And I go through the phone all the time, but it's like they don't show up. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if anybody else experiences that, but I have a sweet friend of mine who's like a daughter in a lot of ways. And she had written to me on Friday. And so I pulled a card for her this morning because she asked me to. And she's very involved in my life as far as knowing how I am and what I can do, what my abilities are. But I did pull a card for her, and I wrote to her and told her all about her card. And it's interesting because along with that today, I had this very strong sense of education was not over for her. And so I wrote to her about that too. But I really do believe in what I do and the ability of spirit, not what I do, you guys. This is what, first of all, God gave us all gifts. And this is one of the gifts I have. And I believe spirit is with us. So we have loving people with us who guide us. So when I go to work on somebody or I go to answer a question or try to find out some information, I do so knowing that it's not just me, that I have help, that I have the ability, but I ask to. I ask to sense and to feel. All right. And so, and then one thing I always tell us, I can tell you something. We all have our free agency, though. If somebody tells, I don't care if it's me or another reader or somebody else out there, if you receive a message and it just doesn't feel like you never have to act upon that. You never have to be driven towards that. It's not how it works. We're human too, right? We're human too, doing something that nobody can really answer why we're able to do that, what that is. Because I, it's like this. I bought this. I don't know if you can see it. This is called Libyan Desert Glass, and I absolutely love it. And for some reason, it's now my second piece. I have a piece of moldavite. My moldavite is from 15 million years ago. This is 29 million years old. And what happened was when a meteor came into the earth and struck the earth, it was traveling at such a speed and such a heat that literally whatever it hit into, it was melting. But as hard as it was melting, it was freezing up again. And it ended up being thrown all over the circumference of these big meteors, some of these big meteors that came in at those capacities, and it became glass, a glass-like substance. So it's really not a mineral, but it is a really pretty piece of glass. And they come in all sorts of course, all sorts of shapes and sizes because these are not mined, they're not mineral. They're actually a formed thing that happened because of a catastrophic event that did it. And during the cooling process, as quickly as it was heating, it was cooling as in the same way, depending on where these are. And these are both from, well, this is from a hotter area. But obviously, the other one I have is green moldavite, and it actually comes out, I think, the Czech Republic, very cold when it hit too. And you can actually see different places in it where it's heating and cooling and heating and cooling at an extreme pace. So it's not smooth and, luxurious. It's got some depth to it and some change. So they just really strike me. But my point is, we can't answer what mediums and psychics necessarily do and necessarily why they do it. We can speculate. I can speculate this is 29 million years old. I wasn't here 29 million years ago, and I'm not really sure that human beings today, as we know ourselves, we're here today. We're here then either. So it's always kind of interesting to me how we can come up with some of these things when we really weren't here. So I never discount what I do or what anybody else does. I have some really great friends. I'd like to shout out, and I'm probably going to get some of this wrong, uh, to Tina Escoto and our group. She's Mystic Horse Journeys, is a phenomenal healer, psychic medium, does a lot of healing with horses, has been a great mentor to me. To Kaz and Dolly over in the UK, some other people that are just phenomenal. And also I have friends locally, Don Rumor, I have Julie, I forgot your last name, forgive me. I think it's Saguaro Tarot for them. They're on YouTube a lot too, and have some wonderful. Susan Grayling wrote a really great book for people who are wanting to learn more about what they do in a simple way and clear. And I've got another one, Scott, who wrote conversing with the with the universe. He is able to have spirit flow through him and while he talks, and it's pretty interesting. Um, Anyways, all of these folks have gifts and all of them are wonderful. And I know you all have gifts too. Again, if you're out there, wave, thumbs up, something. I think I have the comments on here. I'm not sure. Maybe if I write hi, can I write back? I'm going to write hi. Maybe it'll come up to you too. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, well, mine showed up to me, so I know it works. So anyways, hi there. Remember, I'm restreaming. So this is the platform I'm using to touch YouTube and Facebook. I'm out on TikTok too, doing little shorts. And so you can find me in a variance of places, Instagram. And back to my education, I'm into the last part of my education now where I'll be finishing my project. And for me, in order to finish my project and to, I wanted to really delve into my paranormal world educationally, but I had to start somewhere. So I ended up with my PsyD and working on criminology. And so I am working on a project that is non-paranormal related. However, what I did have fun with, I'm working on going, it starts way back in history when there were mental institutions, when there were homes for mothers who didn't have a place to be and indigent men who didn't have a place to be, and how they evolved into sanatoriums for the mentally ill and what happened after that happened. Well, a lot of those closed. And so I'm working on that. So I've still had time to historically go back and look at those things and enjoy them. And so today, what I was going to do for us, I wanted to talk about 3 areas that have happened to me since I began to recognize or understand, because you've had stuff happen, you've had things happen, and a lot of us just go, oh, that's not, that's not real, or that was just a fluke, or we all make excuses. I even do it. Why? What was that noise? Oh, maybe it was this. Maybe, and then I go, oh, maybe it wasn't. Anymore, I've gotten pretty good at recognizing it's different. So I thought this afternoon, because like I said, I'm just doing 30 minutes. If I don't have anybody to converse with, I just give you 30 minutes of me. Here I am. And I'm hoping as time evolves, we'll get to do an hour, and I'll have people join that maybe have questions or have comments or have events that have happened to them that we can kind of talk about. That's what I would really love to do. But I'm just working into that. And, if the universe puts it out there and they want me to do that, it'll continue on, right? So the first one I wanted to tell you about happened, and I have these in journals, so I didn't pull the journals out this morning. I thought we'd just wing it on that. But um, I was standing, so I stand up a lot at work because of back issues I have, and I'm more comfortable up. And so I have a table that lifts up. I have two monitors on it. So I was standing at my monitor up on a second floor, and it's about 20, I want to say this is about 2017, 18. So I'm standing there working, and I had like a gap, like a 2-inch gap maybe between those two computers. And the way I work in a cubby, right? Up there, I worked in a cubby, and there were three of us. There was a person in front of me in the center, and a person behind me. And there were executive offices along that other side. So it's just a walkway. If you get to the end of it, to the person behind me, they can't go anywhere else. It's just the end of the building. And there's no other way to get in or out or turn around. So I was working, I was typing, and I could see that corner, right, of my two monitors. So I'm working on this monitor. I have this, and I have a slit. Well, all of a sudden, I see a gentleman walk between my monitors, and I can plainly see him. And the first thing that hits me is, oh my gosh, he's either really sick or he's maybe on heroin, because heroin has a certain way on some people that really makes their eyes very dark underneath. And so there's chemotherapy and some other things, but it was just an instant feeling of, oh my gosh, I wonder what he's going to tell me. Well, in another 2 steps, he should have been past my monitor and right in front of my computer. And he didn't show up. And so I turned and looked. He didn't show up. He was just there. And he smiled at me. He looked right at me and he smiled at me. And I smiled at him and again expected him to go past that monitor and be standing there when I did this. Hey, can I help you? No, he wasn't there. So I thought, okay, what's going on? Huh? What's going on? So I stepped outside, looked down my little tiny hallway that, again, only has 3 people, and it's a dead end down here. And I thought, okay, he's not here. So then I got out and I walked up to my friend that was in the first place. So he'd have had to come by her, and she'd have probably seen him and noticed him. And I walked by. I said, hey, did you see anybody just now? Somebody walked by my computer. And she goes, or walked by my screen. She goes, no, nobody came by. I went, okay. And I told you, those are my moments when I go, huh. So the first thing I thought to do, because he had a sense of familiarity for me, but I wasn't 100% sure. But I wrote this picture of him real quick so I could remember, he didn't have any hair. He had on a Western shirt that had some button downs on it, that were the pearly button downs, and it was a short sleeve plaid brown, like yesterday. I remember this, okay? And I just remember that the sensation I got was he was a kind person, but he was definitely not feeling well, or something was up. So that just baffled me. And of course I couldn't say a whole lot, because it was, nobody saw him but me, right? So I let it go. And it always but I came home and I told my sweetheart, I got to tell you what happened today. And I had it again, I wrote it out and talked about it, told him the story. And I said, I wonder, I have a feeling, because I had met this man, and this is who he reminded me of. I met a man. So I work in a complex, basically, and a city complex that has, water in one area and some other departments and a fleet and some other things in it. Okay. And so there's a lot of people on this property. And I remembered going to a party, I think it was, or something, but I met this gentleman that worked in one of these other areas, and he had cancer. Well, I went up to him and said, hey, hang in there. You're doing awesome. I hope the best for you. Don't give up, because my philosophy with cancer is always don't give up till you're in the box and you can't get out. Okay. You fight. You fight, fight, fight. That's me. So I left him with that, and just met him on a brief moment. My sweetheart had known him, his brother had known him, and good guy, just going through a tough time. And he ended up not surviving the cancer after, I think, another year or two. So he made it a ways, but he just didn't survive. And God had another calling and another purpose for him. And so I said, I think it was him. It felt like him. That's it came to me, even though I hadn't seen him. And I did attend his funeral. And so what happened was I had a sweet friend in another building who actually worked in that area. And sometime later, I was able to run it by her. And I said, hey, I just have a question for you. This happened to me, and this is what I saw and who I thought. And she goes, oh, no, you're totally on. That would have been him. That's how he dressed. Those are the things he liked. And he was just going through so much, And I said, well, that's really interesting. I really felt so good about that he popped by long enough for me to see him. And people think, well, why would they do that? Well, we have to, and I'm not saying his world was like that, but for some of us, our job or the place we got made us so proud to be where we are, or what in doing what we're doing, or perhaps we don't have any family anymore, or we didn't have family close to us. And so our family becomes our work environment a lot, right? I know I spend 10 hours right now doing my job, and I'm sure you all do too. You spend some time. And so, your family takes on a whole new thing. You have your family you love, but you also have additional family. We have other peeps out there that we like and that we care about, and that say good morning to us and good night. And maybe when we go home, there isn't any of that. It's silent. It's crickets. So why would our folks not come back occasionally if they needed to just check in for a minute, right? So I like to think about that. And in fact, my dear friend that had given me that information, beautiful, still young, went home, retired, and just dropped dead one day, vacuuming in her floor just shortly after her retirement. So what a sweet spirit. And I appreciate her so much for being able to validate for me that information. And then another experience I had was, I have them written down, so let me see which one I was going to talk about. Oh, well, again, at 13 years old, I think I told you this one. Gentleman pops in. I open my eyes 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. My mom's working overnight. We lived in a single wide trailer. I slept in her bed. We didn't have cell phones. We had a rotary phone. I didn't have one in the front of my place, my room, which was at the other end of this mobile home at the time. So I used her bed and slept. Well, I slept with her anyway. She had a huge king size bed. Who wouldn't hang out with their mom, right? So I dialed the phone if I needed it. I had that phone there. I could still call an operator and maybe get some help if I had a problem. And my mom couldn't help us. She had to work. We had to eat, right? So I opened my eyes, and there was a man standing there, and his face was so pure white. I couldn't believe it. I could sort of make out an image, but it was not clear. His hands were brilliantly white. This was brilliantly white. I mean, glowing, beautiful white. And he had on like, I call it an old houndstooth wool suit, something that somebody who lived in I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. Someone who lived back where it's pretty cold would have worn. And he just was. I opened my eyes and I remember thinking, and I was kind of like this. And I thought, I'm not really afraid. I don't feel afraid. I just was very curious about who are you? And lo and behold, it wasn't until he reached down and tried to comfort me. I think he was just going to touch me, a little bit and comfort me. And so he reached down like this to touch right here. And I squeezed my eyes and closed, and he was gone. So I really do believe that he was a visitor. And I think at the time, my team, as I call them, my team, was probably looking, because they knew I had these gifts and that they would evolve over time, as gifts do. And I have a little bit of sage, or excuse me, Santo Paulo going here. Um, and that they were checking to see where I was in my progression. Well, clearly it was too soon for me right then. And I was going through a lot physically, mentally, trying to deal with trauma of the past and, get on my feet well. So, anyways, he was gone, but I just never felt, I still was so happy that as I got older and realized what was going on, that he had come to check on me. That was really just another telling moment that they never leave us. People are in and out of our world a lot that are on the other side, and they're checking on us. Okay, so don't be surprised when somebody shows up. They can. And then I think when it gets to my criminology, when it gets to forensic mediumship and things like that, I think that psychometry is one of my gifts. And I say this because and I think I mentioned this not too long ago too in one, but I was given an item in a read I was doing for a young lady, and during that read, I was able to see her dear friend that was extremely close to her, what she was wearing, what her hair color was, the person beside her that hurt her. I was taken back simply by holding it. And I became so emotional in that moment. I was crying as I saw, what was going on. But I was able to converse. I had closed my eyes while I was doing it, was able to converse to this young lady to not worry, because I could tell I could feel she was getting worried that I was crying. I said, "Don't worry, it's not me. It's not me. I'm the observer. I'm the radio. She's communicating." And she left this earth too soon, and she was needed to vent those tears. She needed to shed for a minute, and so she was. And I said, and she's doing that partially for you. She's like, this is a cleansing for all of you. Okay. And we went through that whole scenario, and it was just so profound for me that I was able to, at the end, my friend walked out to my client, walked out to her little gal and who was sitting out there. And she said, "You're going to have to start explaining people what's wrong with me." And she said, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And explaining to people, sorry, "What's wrong with me?" And she goes, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And she goes, "I'm happy." She said, "I hadn't been happy since this event occurred, and I lost this dear friend." And I cannot tell you the peace that comes over me to hear somebody have, um, not necessarily a closure, but an awakening to where they realize their loved one is not gone. They're just on the other side. And all of our loved ones are just over there. They're busy. I don't believe that we're supposed to talk to them all the time. I don't believe that we're going to see them all the time. I do believe God exists. I do believe that they have jobs and things that they have to finish up and do. But I am so grateful for the gifts that I have. And so I'm telling you that if you have any of these gifts, be willing to share them and learn about them if you can. Some people are fearful. They think, they're going to hell. They think it's a sin, and they think a lot of things. But, I can't, again, I always go back to 1 Corinthians verse 12. He gave us gifts. Back in the early part of the scriptures, you guys, yeah, people got killed for stuff. They got stoned to death. They got killed. But it came time when God said, enough. And those gifts were acknowledged, okay? And so I hope that was helpful to you today. I didn't see any comments. I have no idea if anybody's out there. Aunt Ima, if you're out there, I can always count on my girl, Aunt Ima. She's probably out there somewhere. So I'm saying hi to her. Um, if you can give me a thumbs up, great. If you can give me a comment before I go ahead and disconnect, that's okay. I just really want to, the last thing I'll do for us is let me pull a card, because somebody may be out there that's watching, and let me see if we can do that and I'm going to use these today. I really like them. They're really beautiful cards. And I try to kind of go where I'm drawing. So let me see what our week maybe looks like. Okay. And if this is for you, maybe you needed to hear this, right? So let's pull a card. These are oracle cards. Ooh. So this is called the card, the Book of Change, or she calls it the Book of Changes. Oh, it's so funny, you guys. Look, I have a hanger on her. Hold on. So we have the Book of Changes, which is a beautiful card. So if you're making changes, do it. It's beautiful. The world, the universe is open to that. Be willing to listen to, she's playing, I don't know if you can see it, but she's playing, I think it's called a harpsichord or a harp. And it's a very beautiful card. Maybe there are changes coming for you. Maybe you're wanting to explore that. Take that time. Don't think that you're too old. I'm old. I'm not going to quit learning. And I'm not that old, right? I'm only as old as I think I am, all right? So I know what the books say I am, but I sure don't feel it. I do not feel it, except in my lower back because I got some problems. Anyways, if that's you, get into those changes. Be looking at them. See what you can do. Open yourself up. Let's see what our hanger-oner was. This card wanted to be heard today. This is called a towel. And again, look what she's doing. She's playing some kind of a harp. It's beautiful and it's in blue. There may be spirit around you as well this week. So just embrace that. Talk to them, say hello. You know, you guys know what's good and bad. You can feel a bad thing in your gut. If you're watching a movie you can't stand or that's super scary or really troubling, you guys, I watched White Noise. White Noise is not a terrible movie, but I bought that movie. I spent, I don't know, 19 or 20 bucks on that movie, brought it in my house, sat down and watched it, and for some reason could not keep it in my home. I put it in a carton, put it back in its case, took it out to the big trash and tossed that baby. Wasn't my best buy, right? I didn't feel I could give that to anybody. I didn't want to share that with anyone. You have a sense, you have an intuitive side to you. Use it. It's important that you do. So her blue, I really get an intense feeling. This is spirit saying hello to you, saying hello to me, reminding us they're there. Beautiful, beautiful picture. Use that to grow with. Use it to explore, okay? Well, hey, we're at our 2:33 mark, which is a little longer than I wanted to go. I hope that helps you. Thanks for joining me today if you did, and we just couldn't talk yet. We'll get there, okay? You have a great day. I am Shawn, Shelton SageHeartSoul.com. I have a GoDaddy website. If you want to communicate with me there, you can. You can hit on the email and do an email to me and I'll get it. You can also go to TikTok and watch my daily shorts. They're just heart and soul, little shorts trying to touch people and reach out. You have a great, great, great week and be safe in all that you're doing, okay? God bless. Bye-bye.